Okay guys, amazing again to have you today. We are looking at a different concept today, and today is going to be about GitHub for beginners. I know you've heard a lot about GitHub as a beginner programmer, or even if you've got a little higher on the programming journey. So that is why I decided to bring out this concept so that we can extract it, talk about it, study it, and learn together about GitHub. Okay, if you are new to programming, basically welcome to the channel, and I have a series of videos to guide you through whether you are looking for videos on Python, JavaScript, Git and GitHub and all that. So I'll link them up in the description in case you need them for guidance. They're going to be there for you to click on. Again, if you are looking for a full tutorial, I have a full playlist on Git. Okay, just it's showing above, just click on it and you can learn more about that. So basically, let's get started. Whether you're a programmer, a data scientist or analyst or whatever, you will need to work with a version control system, and GitHub is one important place where programmers or data scientists, where you have to store your code. It's so popular, it has been around for a while. That is why I chose to use GitHub for this particular training. It's an open source version control system for storing code collaboration. And again, before you get started with GitHub, you will have to sign up for an account. So basically what you have to do is you go to your browser, you type github.com on your browser, and if you do that, it's going to bring up the home page, and the first thing you have sign up. What you need is click on this sign up button here, as you can see. Click on sign up, so it's going to bring up display that. So after you do that, it's going to require you, so you just see that you put in your name here, your email address, your username, rather email address, and you fill in some other basic information as is required. Then you go ahead, and it's going to bring out some catch, ask you a couple of questions, and you click on them, and that is it, guys. After doing that, you hit on submit, and it's going to redirect you. As you can see, it's going to redirect you, and it's going to sign you up to GitHub. So after sign up, the next thing you want to do, github.com. Then this time you want to do login. So you github.com, then you go to login. So you put in your email, your username, which you entered earlier, your email address, then you put in your password. So once you log in, it's going to bring you here. All right, guys. So if that is not a little clear enough, I have a complete video on how to create a GitHub account. Okay, it's displaying here. Just click on it above. I will also link it in the description of this video. So here we are going to extract most of those stuffs you are seeing. We are going to look at them one after the other. Okay, what they are, and most of them, even though we may not cover all of it, but most of it will be covered. I will try my best as much as I can to explain the concept in a way you will understand it. Okay, so first we are going to come here. There are a couple of them you can see. First, once you log in, is going to be like this. Yours might not look like this. The home page might not look like this. As you can see, yours might not look like this. Basically, this is just a readme I created specifically for this. Okay, everything might not load up now. So that, by the way, that's not the major focus of our tutorial today. So the first thing, you have a profile which you can display from here. Okay, which if I click here right now, you are going to see your profile, which is the same thing that is showing here. Okay, this is your profile, and it's going to be on the left hand side. You have edit profile. You can edit your profile and then change some of this information that is displaying about you here. All right, so again, we just go from here. There are a lot of concepts to look at, so we just go from here. As you can see, if we come here, you can see there's a repository here, which you can see here, this one, repository. Basically, what is a repository? A repository is more like a directory or a folder where you store your work on the remote. So github.com is a remote hub where you can store your code. All right, so if you understand that, then I'll go ahead to give you an example, more like create a repo, so that you can have a perfect knowledge on how that is done. Okay. So once you click on repository, if you come here on the top right hand corner here above, you can see new. That means I want to create a new repo. So I click on that. Okay. And by the way, you can also do that here. You see this plus icon? If I click on it, new repository is just the same thing. So here you can see it's going to display this. So what I need to do, I just want to say my new repo. I think this is too clustered. Okay, let me just to make it a little readable. All right, so once you see this green right up here, it shows that okay, this repo is available. That means I can use it. So let's move on. You have description, then okay, we don't need this. Just describe, it's optional. Okay, here I have public, private. It means if I put it on public, that means anybody on the internet can access or have access to it. Then private, it shows that only people I want to see it can see it. So I'll leave it as public, which means we want everybody to be able to access it. Then readme, all of these, we don't need them for now. Okay, so I'll go ahead and create repo. So once I click on create repo, it's going to load up and yeah, it's going to create a repository. So with this link, as you can see here, so a repository will be created. And again, yeah, with this link you can move this. With this link you can pull it into your local machine and start working on it. While you are working, you can then push whatever you have back to GitHub, you know, for storage and version control. All right, all of these, there are steps to guide you on what to do and what to do on your repo. These are commands, you know, you can use them while you are working on your project. But again, I try as much as possible to keep this tutorial to be focused on GitHub, okay, because these are Git command which you will use. All right, so that's the repo which you can clone into your this to work on your project. You see, we talked about repo. After we created the repo, it's going to bring up, as you can see, if you notice, it's going to bring up a whole new series of information of options for us to select. So here you can see I have code. Of course, there is no code here because I've not written any, so we leave that for now. Once we begin to work on that project, if we clone the repo we have here, okay, then into our machine, then we start coding, we push back to GitHub, is going to display a series of code. Then we now have some codes, you know, then we can better explain how that works. So basically, then if we move closer, you know, back to the right hand side, you have issues. Okay, what are they? And if you want to learn about issues, let's just click on it and I will explain what that is. Basically, they allow user to track and manage tasks related to their project. You know what needs to be done, discuss how to do it, and record what has been done. If you are going into peer programming, by peer programming, I simply means you are working with other people on a repository or on the same code base. Then issues is going to help a lot. You just come here, you open an issue that other people have access, you discuss how things are going to be in the repo, in the project, then you go back and forth and you work on them. So that is basically what issue is, from the name, of course, issues. All right, so we move. The next one we want to talk about, you have pull request here. You see pull request, so I'll click on it. So then I'll again explain what a pull request is, even though I have a video about pull request. Okay, I'm going to link that in the description too. Okay, so what is a pull request? It's more like a way to propose a change to a project, then discuss those changes with others and get approval before merging them into the main code. You have more like you have 3 individuals working on a project. Is a group project. All right, so they both have a version of a copy of the code base on their local machine, I mean on their computer. So they are working on it. Each individual can send what they have to the main project, which is saved on GitHub. Okay, so because if they allow them to push directly, you know, somebody who is not, who may just, you know, not be too careful and pull the wrong thing to the main hub, you know, to the GitHub account where they are storing the project. So to avoid that, they agreed, okay, we're going to create a pull request before you push your changes. What that is that as you send in your changes, then everybody in the group will be able to review those changes before they approve them. So if they review it, they feel, okay, these changes you made is acceptable by me, okay, they accept it, then before it can be added directly into the code base. So that is basically what pull request is used more in. You use it in for peer programming. All right, then you have actions. Actions again, you have actions. I'll just talk about this. It's a way to automate software development workflow. If you look through it down, as I go down, you can see deployment, you can see security, you can see continuous integration and automation. What this is going to help you to, if you have regular actions which you engage in, more like saving stuff, deployment, automation of processes, then action is going to help you automate software development workflow. It saves your time, handle repetitive tasks, and is going to make your work faster and more efficient. So that is what that do. So you may want to consider that as you get started. So the next stuff we are looking at from here, wiki. Again, I will not dwell much on this. Wiki is just a built-in notebook for your project on GitHub. A way to create is more like a small notepad on your GitHub project. So it can help you to organize stuff and put them. Then security, we have security here. Again, I will not dwell on that inside. Then I move to something quite important, which is settings. So if I click on settings, you can see that it have a whole series. Is going to bring up this series of interface. Is going to display this interface for us. There are a couple of things which I need to discuss about. This is the repo name, as you remember, which we created earlier. Then this is the name. Then you can, if you look at it from the top left hand side, you are going to see collaborators. So what this means is that if you plan to work with somebody else on a code base, you have a project, you have 2 persons, 3 persons, or 4 individuals working on it, then you need to, after you create a repo, you need to add such individuals to that project. So before you can do that, it's going to ask you for your password, and you click yes, confirm access, and once you come here, you can see you can add people to this repository. So if you click on add people, it's going to ask you to search for the name of those individual or individuals you want to add to the project. So that is what collaborators does. So you have a moderation option. You can moderate what others, how they interact during the development process. Okay, then you have code and automation. Okay, it's more related to the actions we talk about, GitHub actions we talked about earlier. So you can click on it and it can help you. So you have rules here. Okay, some rules you want to consider. Then you have actions, which I talked about earlier, that help you to automate processes. Then again, you have environment. I want to dwell on code spaces. Okay, you have code spaces here. Okay, I want to dwell on this. I believe that this is very important and you need to know this. So what is a code space? A code space is basically a remote version of your IDE. If you are familiar with VS Code, Visual Studio Code, it's more like having a remote version of Visual Studio Code. You are not working locally, you are working on the remote directly. Okay, I'm going to go ahead to set up a code space right away so that you can see how that work. Okay, basically, to better explain this, I think we have to get it from here. You can see new code space. Like I said earlier, a code space is a remote version of your IDE. So you can create a code space. What you need to do, of which I will be creating one right away so that you better understand how it works. Search for a repo. You see on this project, I can use, okay, let me say I want to use this project. I want to create it a new code space on this project. I click on that, then the branch, of course, I'm going to use the main branch. Then you can leave every other thing the same way it is. For this, by the way, it can help you switch between this or this. I'll just leave it on the upper one and I'll create code space. So it's going to load and set up the code space for us, and it's going to set up code space. Yes, so you can see that it's going to open up this. I believe you are familiar with this. This look like your VS Code. Okay, so once this comes up, you can see that we have a URL here. All right, that means I'm working on the remote. It's a remote IDE, not working locally on my machine. So it look familiar like your normal VS Code. So let it load fully so that we can see what we can do here. Choose a theme. Okay, of course, as usual, we're gonna go with this. All right, so perfect. Looks like your VS Code, right? Good. So we can then close this up. So, but this is VS Code on the remote server. So welcome to Codespaces. You are on our default image. So again, pay attention to this. It includes runtime and tools for Python, Node.js, Docker, and more. So see the full list here. And so all the tools you need, you don't need to install anything. All right, what you need is going to be there. Whether you need a Docker image, you need Node.js, you need Express, whatever is going to be there, but you are working on the remote. All right, so that's just the difference. So I'll go back on this, and the next thing, so back here, we have talked about Codespaces. Again, Pages. Let me just say one or two things about Pages. It helps in building and deploying a project. It helps in project deployment. Okay, I may not dwell on this because as a beginner you are more interested in getting familiar with the terms and getting used to working on VS Code. But if you have a project, a small project you want to deploy, you can use GitHub Pages to do that. But it's limited in a way, but it can help you to learn how this deployment works. So every other thing here, deployment keys, we may not need some of this for now. Let me just go up here, and you can see some of these things we are seeing here. We saw them earlier in the other side. I've explained to you what a profile is, repo. Then I want to talk about Copilot. Okay, basically a Copilot is an AI tool that helps you write more efficient code. All right, so you will want to try this out. So I'll click on it. Let me talk a little about it and show you how you can go about it. So if you click on it, it's going to come up with this, and of course it will give you 30-day free trial, and then you can pick a pricing plan that you want to use. I have paid version which I use, so if you subscribe to the paid version, is going to be something like this. So if you are here, then it's going to prompt you. You have to install GitHub Copilot extension on VS Code, Visual. So I use VS Code, which is of course more popular. So if you come to VS Code, you have to install Copilot. So you click here, then you install Copilot. You click on this install button. So I'll do that right away. So it's going to start the installation. So once it install, you can start using that. So that is that about Copilot. Then let's talk about other more important stuffs that we can see here. So I click here earlier. So again, let's go back here. Project, your project. I've explained about repository, so you can see project here. Let me just say one or two things about this project. Your project here, it helps you provide visual interface for organizing your tasks on GitHub. It's more like the Trello, GitHub version of Trello. It's not like Trello in that way, but you can help you organize your tasks, your project, with especially when you are working on a large project. So as you can see, this is how it looks. So you can jump right in, you can communicate with your peers and do all of that right here. You can structure out how your project is going to be and who is doing what. So it's a great tool you may want to consider if you are working as a team or even working alone. Here you have stars, GitHub stars. You also have that here. So either way, I will explain what that do. So let me just click it from here. So if stars is a way of creating a list of favorite projects that interest you. Maybe you go through somebody's repository and you see projects that you like, you may want to look at in the future. You can just start them. So if you start them, they are going to appear as stars on the person's repo, and you will have those projects. You will have them, a list of them in your you more like bookmark them to look through them later. So that is what stars is. Then you have gist, they are for showing code snippets, configurations, files, or quick draft in Markdown. Let me explain this in a way that you can easily pick it up. Let's say you discovered a new trick in Python, something that works in Python. You can create a gist about it, paste your code snippet in a new gist. You can create a new gist, paste your code snippet, and add a brief description. Then choose whether it's going to be public or private. Then you can share it with your team. Okay, this is what I found about Python. Check it out if it interests you. So they can comment on it, they can look at it, they can review it. So that is what gist basically do. Then you have your organization, your enterprise. We are not looking at all of this for now. So the next thing I want us to look at, you can have GitHub community. Again, that's a whole world of its own. You have a large community engaging in discussions. So you can come here, you are looking at, you have a challenge, you want to hear other people's opinion or try to search for what people have said about certain tasks or challenges. You can come here and ask your questions and get them answered too. So you can see GitHub, different topic. So you can come and search, come to the search term and search on what you are looking for. So it's going to open that for you. So then you have GitHub docs, GitHub documentation. You may want to spend more time reading docs so that you spend less time coding. Okay, so then you have settings, which I really want to talk about. So you can have your settings. Once you open that up, it's going to show up a whole bunch of stuff. Your account is here, appearance and all that, notifications, then billing and plans. Like we talked about Copilot, if you ultimately subscribe for a paid version, you have that here. Password and authentication, they are here. Okay, so SSH keys, if you have any, your repository, Codespaces, which we talked about. Then you have Copilot. I believe we have talked about this already. Then let's first talk about developer settings. So I'll click on this developer settings. Basically, if you are new to GitHub, I will highly recommend and advise you create a personal access token, PAT for short. It's more like creating a password, but passwords are weaker when compared to access tokens. So basically, they do majorly the same thing on a larger scale with password, but they are more safe and they are more secure. So you can just come back here and create an access token. Just click on this, click on token, click on the classic type. Then you can go ahead to create a personal access token by clicking generate new token, and after that you come down and click on token. Again, I have a video on creating personal access token. You can just click on it and it's going to guide you to do that. But either way, you need an access token. If you are just getting started, it's going to save you a lot of time. So basically, you have this. And again, what I want to show you from here, if you go down from here, you have your bio, describe what you're doing. You can add your URL. Okay, if you have a website, you can add it here. Then your social media pages, you can add them here. Now, if you're working on a company, so you can update your profile. All right, so okay, so here you have sign out. Of course, if you want to sign out of your account, again, you can search. I've not talked about this. You can search for whatever you want to search for here. Just add a slash and search for it. It can take you to your repository and you can have that. Then if you come here again, we have gist, new organization, which is not important to us now. We have talked about projects. Okay, so these are basically most of the things you may need as a beginner to GitHub, and ability to create a project, which we showed, a repository which I showed you already. And if you come here, it's going to display a list of the repository which you have. So you can see these are some of them. These are some of them. Okay, you can come here to click on next. It's going to show you a series of others. All right, so then I want to talk about pull requests. I don't think I've talked about pull requests. Okay, so for pull requests, it is a way to propose a change to a project. Again, it helps very well when you are doing pair programming, you are writing code with other people. The way it helps to propose new change to a project, then you can discuss those changes with your groups. All right, if you make some changes, then you can discuss them with your group, then you can get approval before merging them to the main code base. So I think what I've said so far can get you started on GitHub. Basically, it can get you started on the GitHub. Peradventure you need any other thing, you can drop them on the comment section, okay, while I am going to attend to that. Be rest assured, I look at the comment section, I'm going to attend to that. Okay, so I'm working on a series on Git and GitHub, so just be on the lookout